that could be a post on social media, that could be news articles. So let's talk about it. Lauren helps people write books. Kathy just wrote a book. Alex, how you doing today? John Wiley puts out a lot of content, a lot of written content. Tom, you live?
I'm good. We were live. It was a Clubhouse issue that I was having. So for some reason, I couldn't get into the room. I couldn't see you. I could see Lauren and Alex and Kathy come in, but you weren't there. I couldn't hear anything, so I had to leave and come back in. I don't even know if you could see me the first time I came in the room.
I see you now. I hear you. You're a little far away, right, John? See far away?
Yeah, it sounds like the computer's defaulted to his microphone on the computer instead of the one he's using in the studio.
All right, let me double check. Got some weird stuff happening.
Right, so today we are talking about the written word. Does it matter? I love the detail of the written word. Me and Tom are working on a little side thing, and I was just giddy 10 minutes ago telling him about the intricacies of something I was writing. I think for me, I think the written word is still powerful. I think that whether it's a book on an airplane, magazine in the doctor's office, a post on social media, you can get impact with that written word. I believe in video. I believe in all these other things, but even on a great video, there's descriptions. I read John's descriptions and I see that they're intricate descriptions of what he's talking about in the episode. So I know what's going on there. So Tom, let's kick this off. You ready to kick it off? You ready to give your thoughts on the written word?
I'm good. I should sound a lot better. For some reason, Club Deck like defaulted and reset. Even though I'd already reset the audio on Club Deck, it defaulted back to the like the camera microphone and stuff. So I sounded really far away, and hopefully I sound better now and a little bit more like I actually know what I'm doing. So software glitch. Apologies to everybody. But yeah, Dom, I mean, look, I agree with you. I obviously no hiding here, right? I'm a video guy. Everybody knows that. I own a media production company. I've spent my career in visual media. I have worked in the entertainment business and television and production since 2001. So I've got more than 2 decades invested professionally in a visual media production career. That said, I have also spent years of my career working as a writer in television, in the entertainment industry. In fact, I was invited to join the Writers Guild East at one point towards the end of my television career because of the work that I did in television, and because essentially as a producer and director, I was working as an uncredited writer. All the stuff you watch unscripted television, and all the stuff that the hosts say, all of that stuff that has to be scripted, there's no writer's room. The producers write all of that. Right. Essentially, we were the writers of the show. So all the narration in the program, things like that, that's all written by the producers. So we are the writers. So I've worked professionally as a writer. And the written word's been around for thousands of years for good reason. Not because it's fleeting, not because it isn't powerful, but because it is, right? Because the converse is true, because the written word is powerful, it is impactful, and it will continue to be impactful going forward. I'm a video guy, but I wrote a book, right? I'm a video guy, but I publish a weekly newsletter. A lot of my communications with my clients are through written word, right? Through email, right? Through writing outlines and scripts and things like that for the projects that we do for our clients. So yeah, I'm right there with you, buddy. I 100% agree with you that the written word is powerful, that there's power in it, and that we should all work to utilize it more effectively, right? That writing is a process, a skill set, just like anything else, that you can improve over time with practice, right? What's that turn on the old saying? Instead of practice makes perfect, practice makes improvement, that we like to talk about in here, that you and I have talked about so many times before. So yeah, practice makes improvement. Keep writing, folks. write more. Like when in doubt, write. Writing will only help you and improve your communications. That's my thinking.
Okay, that's a good take. So already we're acknowledging that it's not dead and it's valuable. So John Jay, is there a way to get better at it? How are you using it? And how important is it to you in the descriptions, in the podcasting, in the even a script or whatever you do?
The last part I think is what I'll start with. The writing is the most important thing you do. If you are disseminating your content via the internet or interweb or whatever you want to call it, or social media, the words you use matter. If you're disseminating via television or other things, not so much. But even YouTube, the keywords you use, the title, the show notes, they all matter. That's what search engines find. They scour that. So they go for words, focusing on keywords that really apply to your episode that people are actively searching will hit home runs for you. So whether we write books or not, I think is not the issue. But I write a lot of blog articles. I write articles on blogs on my website. I also write articles on Newsbreak and Medium, or apply to two other ones, because they drive traffic. They build backlink authority, domain authority. All that stuff matters for discovery of your content. So you can produce the best content in the world, and here's the problem: if it's audio, video, whatever, search engines can't really read that. But if you don't use good writing, good words to describe and get attention of consumers, no one's going to notice you. And your great content is going to be undiscovered. It's not going to be viewed or listened to. So the words you use certainly do matter.
John, how do you know that you're getting better at it or good enough at it? Let's say I put out something. How do I know that if I put out a Facebook post or something like that, that the world's not like, well, this guy's an idiot?
The main thing I look at is, and I don't say I do it every day. Look at it quarterly, but look at your analytics. Don't focus on impressions as much as actual engagement for social media. How many people are engaging? Are you getting a lot of engagement on a post? That's the number one key. If you're doing a video or audio podcast or a video, whatever it is, check your insights. Is it being viewed? Is it being listened to? Are you getting more downloads? Is that number going up? If it's not, then for God's sake, stop doing what you've been doing and do something different. Focus more on what works, do more of that and less of what doesn't. I know it's not complicated, Dominic, but that's the philosophy I take.
All right, John, thanks, brother. And I appreciate the reminder to check out the analytics. I'll send out newsletters, and it is one, I can see the open rate. So I'm like, oh, okay. But then also above the open rate is when somebody replies back and they're like, hey, good point, or yeah, I was thinking about that, or let's set up a meeting or whatever. So then I'm like, oh, besides for the analytics, I'm seeing, oh, this did make an impact. It hit home on that. So, hey, Tom, did you want to add something there?
No, I'm good. I think John's right. It's one of the reasons why I always stress, that search engines use the written word to drive results, right? To rank pages. That's what SEO is all about, right? And keywords, that term you hear thrown around all over the place, right? It's all about making your presence on the web more readable and searchable and findable for your audience, right? To put it in front of more eyes. And it's using what search engines use, which is the written word, right? They crawl your pages, they look at the words on the page. They can't watch videos, right? They can't listen to podcasts, but what they can do is they can read the transcripts of both. So what I always tell people is, if you've got a podcast, create a page on your website and post the transcripts to every episode on your website, right? Use those written words to your advantage, right? It's very easy to create a transcript out of a podcast. There are so many different options for transcription software that you can use. I'm not even going to name one. Pick one. You have your choice. Use a transcription service, whatever the case may be, but get transcripts of your audio podcasts and your videos and then share those on your website, post those on your website, make sure those transcripts pop up so you get credit in the search engines for the words that you use, right? Transform the spoken word into written word so that you can optimize your SEO. And if you're doing a podcast that's built around your business, right, that's related to your industry, you're going to use a lot of keywords in the course of that podcast. How many times have I said video so far already this morning, right? How many times have I said it? How many times did John say video, right? We post the transcript of this, and video is going to pop up a whole bunch of times. And if I have those keywords on my website, it's going to help me rank better in search engines. So just something to think about, just a quick sort of tip that people can use to help improve their keyword search ranking and optimize their websites for SEO.
Okay, so John, Tom, teach me about this. So are you just putting the raw are you hiding them somewhere on the website? Or are you, because you wouldn't just write an article sharing the ums and uhs and stuff like that. So it's just transcript to, is it in the back feed or what's going on?
It's not an article, right? It's a transcript of the episode, right? That's what you're posting. So you're not trying to fake somebody or trick somebody into thinking it's a blog article. You literally post the transcript, and you just have a page on your website for transcripts. It doesn't have to be a page you advertise. It doesn't even have to be, it just has to be public, right? It has to be available and open to public, right? It can't be hidden so that search engines can find it. But it doesn't have to, you don't even have to have a link in the menu to go to that page, right? You can have a link on the page for your podcast or for the video series that you create, but you don't have to have, it doesn't have to be, marketed for search engines to find it. It just has to be there and be public. So it's that simple. Create a page that just is, Dom Domasky, transcripts, right? Whatever it is, like whatever your motivationchamps.com/transcripts, right? That's the web page. And then you go to that web page and there's just organized transcripts of like the different things that you do, right? The different videos you post, whatever the case may be, that's where they live. And that's it. It's that simple. You don't have to, you can put all the ums and leave all the things in there. It's a transcript. People aren't expecting to read a polished piece as if it's a blog article or a book. It's a transcript. That's what it is. That's how you post it. That's how you market it. Or you don't have to market it, but you just label it accurately. Nobody's going to be like, what the hell? This transcript doesn't read like a novel. Like, of course it doesn't. It's a transcript. That's what I think.
Okay, I'd love to hear from anybody else in this transcript world, because this is news to me. So if anybody wants to flash and jump in on that, just an angle on how they roll. Julie, I see your hand slapping or raising, so go on.
I'm slapping my hand. No, Tom is correct. Anytime, as many words as you can get on your website. And just a tip, if this is overwhelming, and you can get transcripts if you're doing live videos or whatever, it's super easy. But you can always use Cast Magic, which I found helpful with video and audio. It is AI, but it will write out the transcript for you. It will turn it into a newsletter. It will write a blog. As many words as you can everywhere is super important. And I just did a Google ad for the Creative Con website, which is, if you guys use Google Ads, it helps to, Google will tell you what the keywords you should be using everywhere. And it's super helpful, getting tons of hits on the website now, because I believe you have to pay to play. And those are my two tips: Google Ads and Cast Magic.
Julie, good stuff as always. I'll share that Creative Con website up here in the link too, so we can check it out. Well, all right, let's keep on rolling. Not the smartest guys in the room. Tom's smiling. I don't know what he's smiling about. Go on.
Well, all right. Well, the hand slap was funny. Like, you have to admit, that was funny.
It doesn't look like a hand raise. A hand raise
it's like waving. It's like waving. It's doing this.
Okay, it's a wave. It is not a. It looks like a high five. Like if I was like I was running down the trail the other day and I saw a kid I hadn't seen for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And I
Just slap his
I
hand.
put my hand up like this and he ran across, slapped my hand, and that was that. You know, that's what Julie's hand raise looked like.
Just a couple of hand slappers on the trails in Pennsylvania.
That's how we roll, man. Through the woods, two people slapping hands, and we're just like, yeah, it's all good.
The other thing that I thought was funny was that you were like, all right, anybody else want to weigh in on this transcript thing, as if to say, like, I don't know that I believe Tom, so can anybody else corroborate what Tom is saying? Because I don't think I believe what he's saying.
That's true. That's true.
That was a hand slap. That was a verbal hand slap.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
that's a hand slap. That's a
Tom has
A slap on the ass.
Yeah, there we
all right,
go.
well, all right, hold on.
Nobody's admitted many times that he's the cobbler's son on this show, so he'll say that sometimes because he's out filming and producing and in the world helping other people, sometimes he doesn't have time to do the things for himself. So that's why I was, they say trust but verify. So I'm sure this can be done. I just wondered the process of how anybody else is doing it.
Here's the other thing too, is like, so Dom, you've been using, what was the name of the software you've been using to make the little clip videos?
Opus Clip.
Opus, right. So I bet you, because what do? You feed Opus, the YouTube stream or something like that from this?
Yeah, I feed it the stream, and then I put a couple keywords that I'm looking for, and pretty much that's it, And
so, and Opus creates the captions on its own, right?
Yeah, I got to go back in sometimes. Like I had Bobby Bonilla, or it'll, like if it's Dr. Tachi, they might. Dr. Tachi's killing on the clips too, but yes, I might adjust something a little bit.
Yeah. So here's something for you to look at then. Is will Opus Clips create a transcript of the stream for you? And this is something I should do too, because the software that I use is a piece of software that I already used called Descript. That's how I create the clips that I put out from this show. And it creates a full transcript. As soon as I upload the video file, it creates a full transcript for me. So what I should do also is I should take that transcript for every episode that I upload and just download that transcript and create a page on my website, talexmedia.com/ not the smartest guys in the room, _transcripts or something like that. Right. And post the transcripts on there, because I know I can export the transcript from that. I can even label speakers. The AI in Descript will actually allow me to label the speakers. So as I've gone through a couple of times and labeled people's voices, it's starting to learn people's voices. So it accurately labels you and I. John's here every week. He speaks every week. It accurately labels John. It accurately labels Dr. Tachi. It accurately labels Jason. Because I've put you guys in before and told the AI what you sound like. It knows what you sound like now, and it accurately labels you. So it'll actually even label the speakers for me. So there's very little that I have to do. I can just export that file, export that text file, and then upload it post it on a page on the website, and done. Right. So it's something maybe we should both not be cobblers, right? Sons, not be the children of cobblers. Maybe we should put on some shoes on our own feet and post the transcripts from this on our websites. What do you think?
I think that's a good idea. Well said, Tom. All right, let's get on with this. All right, not the smartest guys in the room. Does the written word matter? We've established. Sometimes we ask a question and we're like, after 30 seconds of the show, we're like, yeah, that is obviously answered. I forget what we had 2 weeks ago, and I don't know what it was, but it was in 1 minute we were like, okay, let's move on from that.
Yeah.
So
the answer is yes, and that's it for the show this week, guys. Thanks so much for being here.
We'll see you later. All right, let's get to Lauren. She is a wordsmith and is helping authors and creators in all kinds of different ways. So let's go, Lauren. Tell us about how you're using the written word, how we can get better at it. What do you got for us?
Oh gosh, I feel like I learned so much this morning already. No, I think everyone had a lot of really great points. I mean, is the written word important? Yeah, I think if it's lasted as long as it has, then I think history tells a lot. So, yes, I think that it is. And then, how you use it, I guess it ultimately depends on what your goals are. But, I feel like in this day and age, everything being so digital and being kind of at the mercy of the algorithm on whatever platform you're on, SEO is, of course, a pretty big part of that. Blogs, newsletters, I think it comes down to creating connections with people, whether it's personally or professionally, because even if you are a brand, having that kind of connection with your community, with your budding audience, with maybe other businesses, depending on if you're B2B or B2C, I think all that stuff is really important because it allows more people to better like, know, and trust you. And there's all kinds of statistics and numbers out there that say that, brands with strong values or strong connections, or people feel like their challenges or their values are represented in a brand, it makes them all the more attractive. People want to give their business or their time or their attention to something or someone like that. So in that way, yeah, I think there's a lot of different benefits to it. And, it can be distributed in a bunch of different ways. It could be blogs, it could be transcripts, it could be SEO, it could, captions on a picture on your website. There's like, what way isn't the written word distributed nowadays? I feel like it changes so frequently and so often, especially with how, digitalized our social world has become, with Twitter and with, all kinds of stuff. So those are my most immediate thoughts, but I think it really just boils down to creating connections with either other people, your audience, your businesses, or all of the above.
Thank you, Lauren. Is there a place in your expertise right now that you feel is underutilized, where you're like, hey, I'm going to spend my time here a little bit more because people aren't realizing, let's say LinkedIn, I'm a believer LinkedIn's underutilized for what everybody in this room is doing, because people are always going to switch jobs. People are always going to look for new jobs. People are always going to be marketing things. So it's just this evergreen platform that you can do what you do on. So that's one where I'd say, and you, when we're talking about the written word, it's a perfect place for it now. Can you add video? Yes. Should you add video? Yes. Should you add pictures? Yes. But that's one that I would choose. And what do you think, Lauren?
That's a really great question. Yeah, I think it depends on your niche and kind of where you're positioning yourself and the platform that's maybe best for that, has a lot of questions around the kind of stuff you do, but maybe there isn't so much competition around it. Yeah, LinkedIn is a good one. I think YouTube is one, depending on kind of where and how you're positioning yourself. Like, for example, YouTube is my primary platform, and there's a lot of booktubers or author tubers out there. That's no surprise. Everyone's on there talking about, how to write a book, how to market a book, how to self-publish a book, self-publishing especially. But what I don't see on there, and where I try to position myself, is using my knowledge, my expertise, even recycling some of my old written content, whether it be blogs to scripted video, or whether it be, conversations that I've had with other people. I position myself on that platform to talk about the business of books, because I don't feel like I'm someone who would have benefited a lot from something like that when I was writing my own book, but it wasn't out there. So I know there's a need for it. There's plenty more for me to learn, but I'm an expert in my own experience and where I'm at. So, the least I can do is position myself on there, save some people some time and headache, and talk about all the things that, people maybe don't know about books. How does a book become a New York Times bestseller? How does a book get on the front tables of Barnes and Noble? How do all those little things, work? And so, yeah, I think YouTube is a very popular one, but the riches are in the niches. So I think wherever you feel like there's a gap in the platforms that you really resonate with and that you click with, I think that's a really great starting point. See what kinds of reactions you get from people, see what people respond well to, and then, from there, it'll only inform your content strategy.
Lauren, great input as I was expecting. So we appreciate you, and me and Tom appreciate each of you for being here for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, stopping through and, checking us out, giving us a support, sharing your commentary, sharing. We like when you blast Tom about his cat suit or disagree with him on other things. That's what I really approve of.
Or give Dominick grief about either how tan or not tan he looks, whether or not tanning is good for you. Any of those kinds of things. We can go ahead and give Dom some grief about maybe the headphones that he stole from Delta in 1986 that he loves to use on his runs.
They were still working good yesterday, man. I was out running, and boy, those Delta headphones, they were sounding good. I ran down through the college. I could see that the young students were checking me out because they're like, man, who is that hunk with those headphones on over there? So I'm sure that's what was happening.
I seriously doubt that that's the H word that was going through their minds. I don't think they were thinking, who's that hunk?
Oh my, I don't even know how to go there. All right, Eric, not the smartest guys in the room, the written word. You help people. You help people write books. I think you do a little bit of real estate too. So there's probably descriptions and stuff in that. So Eric, how important is it and how are people missing the boat on it?
So I think it's interesting that you are including blog or transcripts as the written word, because I it's just an interesting, because I don't see that as the written word. I see it as a transcript of a spoken word. And I say that as somebody who works in book editing all day. Words have power, words have energy, words have a rhythm. And I think what's more important is writing of the word, not just the physical output of words in a written format. So often people will say something. I'm like, well, what did you mean by choosing that word? And they're like, I don't know. Like, we've lost connection to what the words mean sometimes. And I think especially when I go down in the generations and you hear that, well, you know what I mean? Like, and they keep trying to clarify the word that they chose in the sentence, and they go over and over, and they get caught in this loop of, well, you know what I mean. And I'm like, why didn't you just pick a better word? And it's because they don't value the written word, which goes back to actually learning to read words and ask yourself as you're reading, why did the author choose remember over reflect? Why did the author choose remember over recall? Why is the author focusing the sentence on this, not that? And so I think we have an obligation as creators, as people who put ideas into the world, to really start using our word choices better. And so, no, I don't think a transcript counts as words. I think it's because when we speak, we have the luxury of pausing. We have the luxury of emphasizing a thought, and the rhythm and the cadence that comes through in our voice doesn't come through in a transcript. And so a transcript almost should be rewritten if you want to communicate an idea. Transcripts are nothing but closed caption blogs. And I'll leave it there.
Fair points. And I'm wondering, I think when it came to transcripts, I think people were suggesting the web reads the transcript, not actually people. So I think they were saying that. I think that was the angle. So, but your point is,
yeah, and it's for SEO purposes.
It's
like just mapping out words on a page so that you can be found. That's not the written word as I perceive it.
Yeah, gotcha. Agree. Yeah, agree in the nuance of it. And I spend all my day debating as a publisher. Well, I don't understand why you use this word. Tell me what you were trying to say right here. And we'll go back to page 300 and it'll be one. The majority of the work I do as a publisher, besides for, getting people through the process, is reading books for consumability. As a reader, when I read this, did you use a big word that nobody understood? Did you use a big word that now I have to look up and it didn't even make sense because you didn't know how to use the word? Did you say things that were so graphic here that the reader's going to be turned off? Did you say things that were political when you told me you wanted to get on stages, but you talk in a way that probably was too whatever to be what is it? It's not diverse. What I'm missing the word right now. Tom, what's the word?
Divisive.
There you go. Divisive. Yeah. So here somebody tells me, like, I will sit down and say, where are you trying to go with this project? Where are you trying to go? Tell me where you want to be 5 years from now. And then somebody might have comments about their ex-wife or something like that in their book that, well, one, they're going to get sued for unless they went to court over these type of things or there's police reports. But anyway, like that, the importance. So Eric, I believe in the cadence, the art, the balance. But I think for this argument, I think the process was at some point somebody is reading one of these words. But I agree about that. In this case, the transcript, nobody's thinking a transcript is a good book. And I will tell you, I hate a transcript as a book so much that I know people that take their podcast and have made books out of it. And it is just them reading book on like their podcast, reading book. Drives me nuts. Hello, how are you today? Yeah, I'm fine. How are you today? And then they get into this book and I'm like, why wouldn't you have eliminated that? And I'm going one more since you got me started here. I love Gary Vee. In his last book, Crushing It, there was a lot of that. It might have been 2 books. There was a lot of that in it. And this is Gary Vee that I respect and I see what he does and he's the best. But in his book, as far as the written word, he did a lot of like replaying transcript of interviews and things like that. And I think Gary's better than that. So go on, Tom.
I was gonna say that does feel a little lazy, right? And I agree with Eric. And I think just to clarify, I wasn't trying to characterize transcripts as equating to the written word, right? I think writing for consumption is very different from creating a transcript for SEO value, right? Those are 2 distinct separate things. They're both text based, right? So I think that's where we got from one into the other, and that it's an easy way, using transcripts are an easy way to put a lot of text on your website, right? Which really benefits and increases the SEO value of your website. But it's definitely not equivalent to actually writing a book or actually writing articles or actually writing blog content. Those are 2 very different, distinct, and separate things. They're both text-based, but yeah, transcripts are not the written word. All right. So just be clear on that. And that's why I was saying before when we were talking about this, like, label them as transcripts. Be very transparent about what they are. They are not meant to be shared as blog articles. Do not say, here's the latest Not the Smartest Guys in the Room blog and then post the transcript, right? That's a folly. You're misleading your audience if you do that, right? But you could say, here's the latest episode of Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. Here's a link to the live stream of it. And here's a transcript of the episode, right? Here's a link to the transcript of the episode, right? That's all it is. Call it what it is, right? Call it a transcript. It's a transcript. It's text, but it's not the written word. They're 2 different things. So that's what I think. Julie, what say you? I know you said you were using Cast Magic to create transcripts and then using that to adapt it into sort of some blog articles and some other content, Google Ads, stuff like that. What do you think the value of the written word is?
No, I agree, Tom. I agree with you 110%. And everything what I know. Okay, let's just use my blog. And there is a big difference between a blog and transcripts. Throw in the transcripts as kind of just clearinghouse for words and SEOs. It's amazing. It's a great idea. Don't make it necessarily public or on the menu because it does confuse people. And nobody's really even going to read those transcripts. The only one who's going to read them is Google and search engines. But for instance, my blog, I write a blog and I repurpose it and I typically I don't use, chat GPT to write the blog, but it drives so much traffic to my websites. It's insane. And I can sing at the mountaintops about how important it is to have a blog, and the transcripts are just like icing on the cake. So, Tom, I'm signing up, as Dr. Tachi says, I'm signing off on what you're talking about. Signing off on it.
Thanks, Julie. I appreciate that. Yeah, and here's a great tip, right? Write your content, write your blog, right? You write your blog. But then when it comes to posting about your blog, right? Sharing your blog, marketing your blog, use AI to help you create quick captions for that. There's nothing wrong with using AI to do that kind of stuff, right? Write the blog yourself, make sure it's your voice, make sure you're saying what you want to say, but then use the tools that you have at your disposal to streamline your process. Use it to create captions so that when you share the blog on social media, you've got quick go-to captions. It's really easy to do. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So just a thought there as a good way to sort of hybridize your use of AI with the words that you write. So just wanted to throw that out there. What do you think, Dom?
I couldn't agree more. For all writers, once you write it, you wrote it first. I understand for outlines and things. You write it first, and then you can disseminate it. Like, I allow you dissemination once you write it. I do not like when people have it write it for them. Like, people are like, I taught ChatGPT. I taught ChatGPT how to write my book for me. I'm like, come on, man. It knows me and it wrote. I'm like, no, it doesn't. I guarantee I'm going to see the same words, the same bulleted list, the same this, the same things the same rewritten stuff. You ever notice how it rewrites the same thing 5 times? A lot of times, if you are using it, make sure it'll write a paragraph, then write the same paragraph. But if you wrote it first, you wrote a book about how to be a successful podcaster, I think there's no reason wrong. Take your book and make me 200 posts. Make me 200 posts based on how I speak, based on this, based on that. Take this news article I wrote and make it into 25 captions, whatever. That's how I would use it. And I think you have to up your output. Why not? Okay, Jason, he said Jason's watching on YouTube. He checked out YouTube, and if anybody here may find themselves in a clip that they share, because we do live stream this, and we might clip you later. So John J, Julie, Jason, you've been dropping some knowledge lately. Dr. Tachi does. So as I get better with my clip making, you might see your smiley selves on there as well. So Jason, what written word, how are you using it better these days? How are you taking it to the next level?
Which part? Can you reframe what you just asked a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Like, how am I using the clips or
no written? So we're sticking with text today. With Tom broke it down the written word. So we understand that it still has value.
Oh,
how are you saying, like, let's say on your TikToks, like Jason's been consistent with his TikToks. Well, how are you? Go on.
Written word is so precious to me. It's like the gold of the earth. It's the one thing where you can almost guarantee it's the fastest download to your brain. I'm quoting somebody who said it better than I did, but when I think about the written word, just remember this world that we're in, it's like being a conductor and a composer. With the written word, there is a style that conveys to the intellectual mind who loves to consume the written word. And there are written word snobs. It doesn't matter what we think as we criticize it, but it's the critique of the written word that conveys the message to the mind and to the average mind. And there are less readers, in my opinion, in the world, but the few readers that actually are also thought leaders. So whether you be a writer, whether you be a speaker, are you using the menu and just delivering to maybe that smaller body audience that actually reads articles or reads blogs or reads transcripts? It also touches on the visually impaired. They could be reading through the braille. Maybe they didn't catch everything they heard, but they want to read through braille. I met a blind person who told me, I go read blogs and through braille, and I was like, that's interesting. I've never had a conversation with somebody who is blind who reads through his hands, like not full articles, let alone books. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm a literary, I love books. And we got to talking about, like, for example, The Alchemist, and we talked about how to win friends and lose influence people. So the menu of what you can offer as an organized, well-established writer versus a blog artist, or even using transcripts, these are all pivot points for advantages and possible imprints that you can make on people. So is there one right more than the wrong? I think the value is in the hands of the beholder, who holds it, who can use it, and where they can go with it. Otherwise, it's just options. So that's where I stand, Dom. Thanks for making the clips. I repurposed it, reposted it, and hopefully get some traffic. And I am getting more traffic now on TikTok. So thank you guys.
So Jason, I would want to ask you one thing just to clarify really quickly. What is your favorite way, or what's the number one way that you use the written word on a regular basis?
My work every day. I write pages and pages of information, reports to people, legal opinion, what's taking place. I've had speech impediments in my life, and sometimes I couldn't just articulate and speak as good as I do now. So I had to learn how to write, and I always fell in love with the written word when people could just write it better than they can speak it, because I'm like, that person is composed. But I use writing in my work every single day. I work with agriculture every day, and there's a lot of written word. Do I publish it publicly? No, I don't. Is it an opportunity for me to develop? Absolutely. There are things I'm working out right now, but writing is not going to be out of the scope. It's going to be actually in the future state. So I haven't really taken advantage to write publicly for opinion. I've read some of Julie's articles. I remember one day it was John, Julie, and I, and we were talking about using Medium. And then there was another one John had mentioned for a while, and I'm forgetting the name of the platform for its written imprints for podcasting. Newsbreak, that's right.
They do.
I haven't looked at Newsbreak.
Great.
Yeah, and one day we talked about, the differences, and I remember John saying, like, I hadn't used Medium, but he loved Newsbreak. So it's just like, what is the user and what is the writer, and where they're better connected for those worlds. So written word, it will be in my future. It's just not professionally, it's in my world. Publicly and socially, it's not in my world as much. That answers your question.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, I think, look, writing, regardless of whether or not you publish it, again, like we said earlier, practice makes perfection. So I think it's valuable, regardless of whether or not you post it, right? Because you may not post stuff regularly now, but you're practicing and honing and refining that skill set so that down the line, when you do want to write things that you share or post or publish, you'll have a skill set already built up that you can draw on, and you'll be that much further ahead than folks that are starting from zero. So I think it's a worthwhile endeavor regardless. So cool. Thanks for sharing that. Dom, it is time for show and tell. So I think we do show and tell, and then we'll go to Dr. Tachi and then we'll wrap things up. How does that sound to you?
I can handle that, man. Let's do it. Okay.
All right. So what do we got? What do we show
All right,
me?
let's do this. Well, I don't know if I told you guys that I am now. I got to keep this. I'm officially announcer for high school field hockey team, and last night I got caught on a live mic. Didn't say anything bad for a while, but I got the old mic had a thing that I could push down longer. This one is like I just push a button, and sometimes but so they were like waving me off that I'm just like talking about whatever. So I hope I don't get fired because I actually enjoy it.
Did you call the ref an idiot or something?
No, I everything was clean. We were just talking amongst ourselves about somebody had a bloody nose out on the field, and we were trying to figure out who it was. But I got to make sure I'm turning that thing off because I have my own opinions up in that booth. But so this is leading us into show and tell. How I get most of my things and how I get most of the cool things that I have are from my kids in this day and age. So today's show and tell is my field hockey stick because my daughter got a new one. So we only had one field hockey stick in the house, and I would just have to roll balls to her, and she would well them at me. But now, because we have two field hockey sticks, I am able to play with her. And when you swing this thing, it is a lot harder than it looks. It hurts your hands and they sting. Like almost every good hit with the field hockey stick is like when you hit with a baseball and you get those shivers through your hands. So if you've never watched field hockey, check it out. And you never know, you might just have an awesome announcer that you are familiar with. So
who may or may not say something funny on a hot mic that you get to tell somebody, share the story of later. May or may not talk about his hernias on a hot mic during the.
May I tell you, when we won one game and we had a goal the other night, and I got to use, so I have my like 90s references written down. So my friend's daughter Tegan Zola scored a goal. I said, "Crying Johnnies for everyone. Tegan Zola with the goal." So that was the reference. Crying Johnnies. Anybody know what Crying Johnnies is from? Go on. Tom?
Nope.
No.
I got nothing.
Anybody? Am I that lame? Lauren, you have to know what Crying Johnnies is from.
I'm so sorry. I don't.
Man, Eric, please tell me. No wonder nobody knows what I'm talking about. Julie, do you know what Crying Johnnies is from?
So I think something key here when you're trying to pick like pop culture references is that there are things that people actually know about.
Crying Johnnies is from SpongeBob. That's Mr. Krabs.
You would think I would know that stuff, but I don't.
Come on.
I've literally never watched an episode of SpongeBob.
Oh,
Get ready, Tom. Get ready. Yeah. Get ready for Dora the Explorer and all that fun stuff.
Let's clip this. Tom admitting he never watched an episode of SpongeBob.
How can that be? Like, how can someone not ever watch SpongeBob?
Tom's big revelation. He never watched SpongeBob.
Yeah. Let's clip that. We caught him, guys. We got him. He's never seen SpongeBob.
Busted. Okay, let's forget Tom. Let's get to our pop culture expert, a master of the written word, Dr. Tachi. And so, a pop culture expert, you better know about Crying Johnnies. Come on, Dr. Tachi.
I don't watch SpongeBob enough to know that reference, but I have watched SpongeBob before.
Okay, I accept a little bit. So I got like last year I gave a Shakatocious, and somebody said, did Shaquille O'Neal? Come on, okay. I got to work on. I was going to go all Taylor Swift references for the kids, but that's what I got. All right, we're moving on. Now you guys are not humoring me today. So Dr. Tachi, when you're doing your descriptions, when you're writing up show prep, how important is when you're working with clients? I wonder how bad writing affects you when you're working with clients. What say you on all these points?
Yes, the written word is so important. Uh, just the fact of like when I write things for descriptions, it's generally not just a description. It's a soliloquy. Because to me, writing is so important. And if you don't necessarily take the time or have the time to watch the video, maybe you'll watch or read what is below. And sometimes that doesn't always work, but there are people who still like to read, and you're in a quiet place, you can't watch that video, but I can read what it's about and then maybe later get to the video. So the writing is so important. Even in the age of quick social media bites, it's important to give context to what you're talking about, because I often find too with my videos that sometimes I'm like, I meant to talk about this. So I'll extend the conversation in the comments. So it's important to really use all the space to connect with people. And by space, I'm talking about whether it's a video, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a blog, the descriptions, take all the space to clearly get your message across. So it's extremely important.
Dr. Tachi, I'm going to jump in before Tom does here. That's a great point about when you put out a 30-second video or a minute video, sometimes in your description, you can set it up a little more knowing, hey, like, look, I'm not perfect. I'm going to miss words, but I could say when this video is about when we were talking about this, and this explains my thoughts on this, and just lead them down the path a little bit more. So I think that's a smart take on that, Dr. Tachi.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Dom, and Dr. Tachi. I think that's a great point. Leave it to the resident professor to use the word soliloquy in her response, talking about the written word. What I'm curious about, Dr. Tachi, is how do you impress on your students the importance of writing skills, of developing writing skills and using those writing skills? How do you impress that lesson on your students, or impress the importance of that on your students?
Through their grades. I'm just going to be transparently honest, because I'm not an English professor, even though I'm a communication professor, and communication English is part of communication. So I do insist on things being well written. I'm not there to correct every single thing and phrasing, because I don't have the time for that, and that's not what I do. So ultimately, the grades will reflect that. What my job is to direct them to some resources that can help them improve their writing. So if there's a particular problem with the way someone writes, and there are problems with the way some students write, I can suggest, hey, like one university that I worked at had a writing center. So, hey, I really want you to go to the writing center, because they can help you frame things in a more efficient way, etc. So, because this is the thing too, you can easily take on too much when whether you're K through 12, whether you're a professor or an instructor, you can easily go beyond what you're supposed to do. Now, that's not saying don't go above and beyond, but then the expectation is, oh, you're going to teach them about writing. No, the hell I'm not. My job is to teach them, get them jobs in the communication field. And part of that is writing, but and I'm also I'm a journalist, but I'm not a journalism professor. So if I happen to be teaching something that's journalism, or something that is like broadcast journalism, I'm teaching more so scripting than I am about the proper the proper way to or grammatically correct sentences, I should say. So I hope that makes sense. Basically, that's not my job.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I know you're not an English teacher. I know although you're a journalist, you're not a journalism teacher. But I appreciate, and what I was curious about was how do you stress to them how important writing skills are, and yeah, like you said, through their grades, and I'm sure that you have sent people off and said, look, you should really think about taking some creative writing classes. You should think about enrolling in some of these kinds of programs so that you can improve your writing, because it needs help, right? It's not my job to do that for you, but yeah, work on it.
Oh yeah, and then again, pointing them to some not just university resources, but other types of resources too, for especially for the people that like writing. I find that writing is important, but I find that there are those types of students that they either love it or they hate it. And if you don't enjoy writing or you don't find the value in it, I can tell you all day it's valuable. You'll only learn when you don't get something because you can't write well. So one thing is to, definitely push them towards resources that don't make writing a big task, but have some enjoyment to it. So I'll do that as well. You're right.
Perfect. I appreciate that. So I know, Dom, you wanted to chime in with one thing real quick, and then I'm ready with a wrap up. We're at 10:28. We're trying to keep this right to an hour. We're going to try to get out of here on time at 10:30 so we can all get back to our days and practice some writing, right? So, Dom, what did you want to say?
Okay, I'm just going to defend the written word one more time. And I love video. I love speaking on stages. But I think with the written word, it's so intimate. People hold it so close to your heart that you have the ability with one word and a cadence. You can write at a cadence, a flow. And with one word, you're able to change a whole emotion. So you take people, when I write, I love the roller coaster. I want to take people on a roller coaster of emotions. And I think there's nothing more powerful than writing to connect and get to that. I'm right here, and you're reading this cadence and you're feeling this cadence. And then all of a sudden, with the way somebody looks at somebody, the word choice I used, how somebody felt, you can completely turn those emotions a different direction. So love the written word. I am a defender of it. Tom, on that note, I will leave it to you. Send us off in all your glory, the way you do, with a wrap up so tight that people scream from the rooftops and are like, damn, that dude's smart. What do you got for us today, Tom?
All right. No pressure at all. Thanks for that setup, Dom. So yeah, and I agree with you. I am also a defender of the written word. In my high school, we had required creative writing that was part of the curriculum. At the time, I didn't like it. It was a class called composition. We all had to do it. We all had to write every week. We had to write sort of like papers every week for a composition class. I really didn't like it at the time. In retrospect, I appreciate the skill set that it helped me develop. One of the most valuable pieces of advice I've ever received about my writing, and something that I have done both as a student and as a professional, as someone who is being paid to write, is to actually take my writing after I've written something out and read it out loud. Now, I've gotten really good at it to the point where, because I've been doing this for, like I said, decades, that I will read it out loud to myself. And what it does is it enables you to see the flaws really clearly in your writing. So it helps you realize where you should end sentences. If you have a run-on sentence, it helps you change words. It helps you create punctuation so that the reader pauses in the right way, so that the writing has the cadence that you're looking for. So it does all of those things. Like I said, I've been doing this for years and years and years, literally decades. Everything I write, I read out loud before I publish it, before I send it to anybody. Even emails, I will read them out loud, then go back and make changes. I would encourage everyone to do that. But when you're first starting out, the most valuable way to do it is to read it to someone else, someone who is maybe not kind of, shoulder deep in whatever the subject is that you're writing about, because sometimes it's hard to see the forest for the trees when we're in the midst of a topic. We're bringing a lot of context into what we're writing, and sometimes that context is needed for the reader, and they'll be able to point that out to you. So what I recommend is, read everything out loud, before you publish it, before you hit send, right? And if you can, for important things, read them out loud to someone else, someone outside of the conversation. In my case, my wife gets to hear me read things out loud to her when they're really important, and I need a second opinion. It probably falls under the for worse part of the for better or worse of our marriage vows, but nonetheless, she's a great sport about it, and she always listens. So I would encourage everyone to do that before you publish, before you hit send. Read it out loud, and when in doubt, if there's any question left in your mind, read it out loud to someone you trust and get their feedback before you publish. It will make you a better writer, I promise. Over time, it will work. It will make you a better writer. So that's all I got for this week. I hope that helps everybody. I hope this conversation was helpful to everybody. I hope you guys learned something, heard something, understood something, learned about Dominick's love of SpongeBob SquarePants and field hockey, and maybe are going to go out and do a little bit more creative writing as well. So for Dom, I'm Tom. We're not the smartest guys in the room. Thank you so much for being here with us this week. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. And as always, we do this because of you and for you. So thanks once again. We will see you guys next Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time for another edition of Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. Until then, have a great rest of your week. Love you guys. Bye-bye.